In the beginning there was only silence, not the silence we know, but an absolute void. No sound, no shape, no light. A timeless abyss without direction. It was nothingness. But from nothing God spoke. Not with words we can hear, but with an authority so intense that the universe itself bowed. And then, time emerged. And with time, space. And with space, the possibility of existence. "Let there be light," he said. And light pierced the darkness. Not just a flash, but the first distinction. The separation between the visible and the invisible. God saw that the light was good, and he separated it from the darkness. And so the first day came to be. On the second day, God separated the waters. He created a firmament, a sky that hovered between the waters above and the waters below. A space where the invisible would move, where the wind would dance. He called this space heaven. The day passed, the night came, and another cycle was complete. On the third day, the Creator gathered the waters into one place, and dry land appeared. The land, once submerged, now emerged as promise. He called the waters seas, and the dry land he called earth. And then, the earth was invited to bear fruit. At God's command, roots and stems, leaves and fruits sprang from the ground. Majestic trees, humble grasses, purposeful herbs, each with its seed, each seed with its future. And God saw that it was good. On the fourth day, God set order in the lights of the sky. The sun to govern the day, the moon to rule the night, and the stars as silent witnesses. These lights were not created just to illuminate, but to mark time, days, seasons, years. The cosmos began to breathe a rhythm. On the fifth day, the world's silence was broken. From the waters, God called forth life. Fish of all shapes glided through rivers and oceans. From the depths came giant whales, shimmering schools, creatures that mankind would take centuries to discover. And then, the sky filled with wings. Birds cut through the winds, dancing on the air currents God had shaped, each species with its song, its flight, its beauty. And he blessed them, saying, "Multiply, fill the waters, fly, sky." On the sixth day, God turned his gaze to the earth, and from dust, from simple and formless matter, he created animals, ferocity and gentleness, speed and slowness, lions roaring atop the savannas, ants marching beneath fallen leaves, each creature molded with detail, with purpose, with instinct. But then, God did something different. He bent over the dust and breathed, and from the clay, man emerged. Not just flesh and bone, but soul, a reflection of the Creator, a being with freedom, with thought, with the ability to love, to choose, to care. God called him Adam. Adam was not complete, and God himself knew it. From his rib, while he slept, the woman was created, not as a shadow, but as a companion. Eve, the first human connection. They were not naked only in body, but in soul, without fear, without shame, without malice. God placed them in the Garden of Eden, a place of raw beauty, of pure balance. Trees with varied fruits, rivers with clear waters, animals in harmony. And at the center, two trees, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God gave the man and the woman a mission: tend, cultivate, govern with wisdom. They could eat from all the fruits except one, the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This choice was not a trap. It was freedom. Because love without freedom is not love. Obedience without choice is not faithfulness. And God desired relationship, not robots. It was an invitation to trust. Walking together daily, Adam and Eve heard the Creator's voice, face to face. On the seventh day, God rested. Not because he was tired, but because he was finished. Creation was not a test, it was a work of art. And like every artist, he contemplated what he had made. Everything was in balance. The light, the waters, the land, the heavens, life pulsed, the world breathed, and God saw that it was very good. It was the beginning of humanity's story, a perfect beginning, a world where the Creator and his creation walked side by side, a time before pain, before the rupture, before the distance, a time when everything made sense. Eden was not just a garden, it was a sacred space. There, each morning held the fresh scent of dew. The leaves danced with the wind as if they knew they were at the center of creation. The animals did not hide from man. They approached without fear. Adam gave names to each one with care, as one who understands that to name is to know. Eve walked among flowers that did not wither, listening to the sound of streams and the music of the sky. And at the center of it all, God. Not a distant God, but present. He spoke to them not as a king to servants, but as a father to children. There was laughter, there was silence, there was peace. Adam and Eve learned day by day what it meant to live with freedom. They were not like gods, but they were not animals. They were something between dust and eternity. And God had placed them there to represent heaven on earth. The garden was their altar, and creation was their responsibility. They did not know pain. They did not know fear. They felt no shame. The days passed without count because there was no hurry. No aging, no end. Each tree that bore fruit was a reminder of God's generosity. Each animal born was an echo of the blessing he had released. But at the center of the garden, two trees drew attention. The tree of life seemed to pulse. Its fruits shone like gemstones under the sunlight. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil, however, remained shrouded in mystery. It was not dark nor ugly, just forbidden. The command was clear, but the reason had not been revealed, and that required trust. Creation lived in delicate balance. Time did not yet know tragedy. The world had not yet tasted blood. But even there, in paradise, choice already existed. Because God, in his perfection, did not create a controlled world. He created a free world. Once, while walking together, Adam asked, "Why can't we eat that fruit?" And God answered tenderly, "Because not everything is for now, not everything is for man. Some doors once opened do not close, and there is knowledge that weighs more than it frees." Eve listened in silence. Her eyes were full of curiosity, but also peace. There was a deep understanding in God's gaze, something that neither time nor words could explain, and they continued living, eating the other fruits, caring for the animals, sleeping under the starriest skies that ever existed. Days became weeks, weeks perhaps months. Eden remained untouched. But there was a silent visitor watching, a fallen being, a spirit of envy, cast from the light, who could not bear to see the man and woman living what he had lost, communion with the Creator. He had not been forgotten, just expelled, and he planned his revenge. He knew he didn't need to destroy the garden with fire. It would be enough to plant doubt. But that is a story for later. The creation of the world was not just a beginning, it was a declaration. God said, "Let there be light," and light still exists to this day. He created the universe not with his hands, but with his voice. And in his voice was power, but also love. Everything that exists began with him, and everything that is beautiful carries his traces. This story ends with the world still intact, with man and woman still pure, with the earth still unscarred. The first chapter of humanity closes like a suspended symphony, awaiting the next note.